Hey guys, and welcome to r/ShortScaryStories, the series where I read spooky wooky, short, chilling tales from the Reddit. Rate them out of 5 spooky wookies and hope that nobody slates me for my ratings. Because I am so underqualified for this, it's unreal. I've released 2 stories on the subreddit. 2 stories. One's done really well and one has flopped like mad. And when I say really well, I mean I'm just gonna have a quick look and I've got 79 upvotes. Yeah, I'm reading stories that are literally in the thousands. So today's a special day. I'm going to be going through the top hot rated stories from the Queen of Horror herself, Hyper Obscura. So let's get straight into the stories because I have rambled on and waffled too much already. This one is called Everything Comes to an End. Everything comes to an end. But it happens in layers, you see. End of a childhood, end of a relationship, end of a life. The man with the briefcase showed up at our house on a Saturday morning, knocking 3 times on the door, just like Mama always said was the polite thing to do. He wore an unflinching smile on his face, soft wrinkles adorning blood-red lips. Mama didn't much like it, I think. She could never look directly at him, but I found it quite welcoming. "You said you were from my son's school?" Daddy asked the man. "What has he done this time?" I avoided his gaze, looking instead at the stranger's briefcase as he opened it ever so slowly. There was a mesmerizing meticulousness to this motion, and I found myself transfixed upon the kinetic poetry of it. "Technically, I am," the man said, "and your boy hasn't done anything. He is very special. The most special boy in existence." It all happened so fast, but when I revisit the memory, it always unfolds in slow motion. Mama's shocked gasp as she sees the gun, Daddy's pupils widening as the bullet burrows into his forehead, the blood splatter soon covering every piece of furniture in our living room. My parents' bodies slumped back in the couch on either side of me, and I was left staring into the eyes of the stranger. "Why did you do that?" I asked sincerely. "It couldn't be avoided," the man answered, wiping blood from his face. I'm not sure I understand," I said. The man chuckled heartily and stood up. "Everything comes to an end, but it happens in layers, you see. End of a childhood, end of a relationship, end of a life." I studied the corpses of my parents. "I still don't understand," I said. He put the gun up to his head, the unflinching smile somehow even more ubiquitous now. "You will one day," he said. And then he pulled the trigger. Everything comes to an end. It happened more than 30 years ago, but in many ways, it feels like today. And he was right, you know. I would grow to understand it. The necessity of my parents' demise. The alluring truth behind the pattern of brain and blood on the walls. The need to fill the black hole inside me with endings. "Sir, we're ready." A slight nod moments later. I watch in awe as the horizon is overwhelmed by marvelous mushroom clouds. Not just our horizon, all horizons. Every single horizon in existence. It's been an honor, they tell me, to serve the cause. I find myself unable to stop smiling. An end to all endings. The quintessential ending. "What now?" someone asks. "You die," I tell them. "You all die." "And you?" they ask. I place the gun neatly into the suitcase. "Oh," I say. I need to visit a very special boy. It happens in layers, you see. That was really good. It's not my type of horror or spooky wooky, but it was a really well laid out story, and I like how it sort of became a circle, became infinite in itself. I really enjoyed that. It was a good read as well. So, I think I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5 spooky wookies. It did give me a little bit of chills, but it's not my type of horror. But again, the story was written so fantastically, as per from Hyper Obscura. Even if the story's bad, it'll be well written out and have some sort of nice twisted fate at the end, which is still, yeah, I'm blowing too much smoke. 4 out of 5 spooky wookies, and on to the next one. This one's called The End. ... Is nigh, he said. That means it's real close. Like, open up the door and it's just standing there close. Usually, I'd ignore whatever came out of his mouth, especially if it was words, but I don't know. Something about it just didn't sit right with me. He was a hand-me-down of sorts. Left chained in the basement from the previous owner. Gave me a real fright when I found him, let me tell you. I considered calling the previous owner, or the police, but imagine all that paperwork. I'm not good with paperwork. Or people. He's not people. Not really. He kinda looks like people. If people were morbidly skinny and had teeth on the outside of their mouth, and their skin was a lustreless shade of grey. When he looks at you with those impossibly round peepers, man, it gives me the creeps. That's not to say I don't appreciate him. I kinda do. However off-putting he is, to such an extent that I'm used to vomiting at the sight of him, he's got a real talent for staying alive. The first night, I sat with him for hours, trying to figure out what to do with him. Releasing him was on the table back then, but something about the way he talked without making a sound made me question that sentiment. Maybe there was a reason why the previous owner kept him chained up in the basement. "Haley," he'd say without actually saying it, "unleash me upon this feeble world, and we shall feast upon the flesh of succulent newborns." "I'm sorry," I replied. "That's not really my thing." So I left him down there for months. The proposal of juicy baby flesh kinda not the right incentive for me back then. I figured I'd maybe just pawn him off on the next guy, should I ever sell the place. But life has a strange way of shoving headless children in your face, you know. That's what he did, the clever bastard. One day, I woke up to them screaming in my bed. Weird, I know. How exactly do you scream without a head? Anyway, things only got weirder from there. Blood in my bathtub, body parts in my lunch, my left eye growing a new eye. Strange times. It was his way of inviting me down there again. Mission accomplished, I guess. "Haley," he said when I waltzed in there. "You do not want to ignore me." I folded my arms sternly. "Oh yeah?" I said. "Why's that?" "Because if I die, the heavens will crumble, the ground will bleed, and reality will decay." I shrugged. "Not my problem," I said. "And it's not really, is it? I got enough on my plate as it is. Jobs, bills, useless boyfriend, disappointed parents. Life is hard enough without the added responsibility of nurturing existence, you know." But then he went and said that thing. "The end is nigh." So what do you think? Screw him, right? Again, good, well-written story and a nice sort of twisted fate at the end. The beginning is the end. So, it's good. It's not my, again, for some reason, these ones just aren't my cup of tea when it comes to horror. But it's a really, really well-written story, and I really enjoyed it. Didn't creep me out, but you know, I'm enjoying myself. I really am. Now, some of you out there would probably think that this is the creepiest thing you've ever heard, and I can see where you'd be coming from. So again, I'm gonna give that one a 4 out of 5 spooky wookies. So we're on a streak here. So maybe we get the triple 4. Maybe we get a 5 in the next one. Who knows? But the next one is called Burning Man. I woke up to a highly irregular smell in my house. The kind that leaves your nostrils wanting more, but not necessarily because they liked it. A morbid curiosity of the nasal regions, I suppose. I arose with great caution, the scent like a bizarre siren's call. An alluring stench of roasted flesh and burnt hair. I grabbed the knife from under my pillow and ventured forth into the living room. I found the Burning Man sitting quite comfortably on my couch, smoking what appeared to be a Camel Light. He nodded politely and beckoned for me to join him in the roaring inferno. "Come, sit," he said. "I am a Burning Man." I nodded. "You are," I said. "I can tell." His flesh was a healthy shade of charcoal black, haphazardly crisscrossed by pinkish lacerations oozing yellow liquid. He stared at me for a while, puffing uselessly on a cigarette that had turned to ash long ago. The flames licked the walls and ceiling and floor in erratic bursts of energy, but seemed strangely uninterested in anything but the man. "I am you," he said, burnt to a crisp in a hellish blaze. "Quite," I nodded. "And how are you here?" He shrugged, sparks of liquid flame flying everywhere. "These things are inexplicable, like catching a drop of rain with your spleen." "Let me rephrase then. Why are you here? To warn me of this ill-fated doom?" He shook his head. An ear came off, landing softly on my priceless Persian rug. We both wrinkled our brows at this. "Not so," the Burning Man said. "I am here to inform you that our fatal incineration is the best possible outcome." "Surely you jest," I spat angrily. "What a preposterous notion. Why must we perish in the fire?" "What do I know?" he chuckled. "I'm dead." Before I had the chance to unleash an avalanche of counter-arguments, the Burning Man disintegrated. A thick cloud of ash hovering for a split second before disappearing. "A hallucination then?" I said to no one, except maybe myself. We knew it was only a matter of time. I ignored the black stain on the couch for days, until I fell asleep one evening smoking a Camel Light, the cigarette resting unsteadily on the spot where the Burning Man had sat. Moments later, the couch was aflame, and I found myself in need of evacuation. "Should I stay?" I asked the roaring inferno. I didn't. I fled the premises, minutes later spectating whilst my beautiful home burned down to the ground. I was visited once more by the Burning Man, in my less than spacious prison cell. I awoke to the same alluring scent of flesh and burnt hair, and found his fiery persona sat next to me. "Best possible outcome," he smiled, still smoking his ash cigarette nonchalantly. "Had I known they would find the corpses," I said, "I would have joined the flames." He chuckled heartily. "Lighten up," he said. Hey, that was a good one. I mean, they're all good, but that was one that tickled my fancy a bit more than the other two. Again, something that's not overly creepy from sort of like a fear point of view, but it's creepy that these people kind of exist, you know? The the main character in this is the creepy person. I like these stories. I really do. And I think these stories are just genuinely so well written and so easy to read as well. It's, you know, it just makes for a good session. I hope you've enjoyed it too. I'm going to give this one a 4. Maybe a 4.5 because this one was the best written one that I've read. And it did have a spooky element to it. And I did like it more than the other two. So I'm going to give it a 4.5. But it didn't creep me out. It's definitely horror. It's just not my kind of horror. So, again, a lot of you might disagree with me, and I hope you do, because honestly, these deserve more credit than what I'm giving them. They're that good. So, 2 4s and a 4.5. That's my spooky wooky rating of today. So out of a possible 15, well, that's 12.5. 12.5 out of 15 is not bad at all. So, I hope you enjoyed these stories as much as I enjoyed reading them. If you have any suggestions to stories that I can read in the future, if you've got any sort of short horror story author, that's it, the short story. No, I've done so well up until this point. Someone who writes short scary stories that you think is underrated and needs to be shouted out, or you want me to read their stuff, please don't hesitate to comment down below, get me on the social medias which are in the description, and yeah, join the Discord, please. We need more people, and I need people to join Among Us with us. So yeah, that's that. So thanks for listening again, and take care.